Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source, bringing the weather without all that social media hype here on your Wednesday, March 26, 2025. Let's go ahead and see what we're tracking here for today as we have pockets of severe weather we're going to be tracking over the next several days. And the one today is pretty interesting because it's in a location you don't typically see. A little teaser there. We'll show you a little more detail on that here in a second. The bigger events moving in for this weekend, talking about Sunday or Monday. Now, we're not talking about a major outbreak, nothing like we saw earlier a couple weeks ago, but it is something we're going to have to track closely as we go into early next week. And then kind of looking at the model trends going into April, looks like we may have a couple more severe weather events to track as we go into that first week. So again, April is kind of getting into the heart and meat of severe weather season. It looks like it's going to live up to that reputation. Now, before we get going, I first want to say thank you to any new subscribers here on the channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, a personal invitation, go ahead and hit that subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner. Hit the notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you appreciate this report, please leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. It does help a little bit with that almighty YouTube algorithm. All right, let's look at the big picture here as we look at our satellite imagery from coast to coast. A little wet and rainy weather here across portions of Oklahoma, Arkansas, East Texas. Had some pretty good hailers yesterday across portions of Dallas yesterday. A little rain up here to the north, believe it or not, little snows into the northeast, and watching a pretty vigorous storm system out here coming off the west coast, and this is going to plow into areas of the Pacific Northwest, and hint, hint, yeah, this may set up some severe weather up this way here and potentially going into tonight, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Now, looking at the big picture, watches and warnings, some heavy rains possible across South Texas. Little red flag warnings here across portions of Georgia and Virginia and Maryland, and a little bit breezy and windy here across portions of Oregon, California, and Nevada here. Only hazards that we're currently seeing out there here for your Wednesday. All right, looking at the big surface map right here. Again, look at that. A little bit of wintry weather up here across portions of New York and Pennsylvania. Temperatures in the 20s with some snow falling. Not very much, but a little bit there. Here's the rains here. A little bit of rain, a little wintry mix there across portions of North Dakota. Pretty quiet all up and down the west coast as well. So let's go ahead and take a closer look here on some of this rain. As you see it falling here across portions of East Texas, coming into southern portions of Arkansas and northern Louisiana. Again, not looking too bad. Maybe a rumble of thunder in there. But again, not as bad as they were, say, just 12 hours ago. It was pretty rough there with some of the weather they were seeing with some of these hefty thunderstorms that developed yesterday afternoon. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. Like I said, we've got pockets of severe weather we're going to be tracking here over the next few days. So let's go ahead and talk about this. Let's go into my interactive mode here, and we're going to talk about, again, we got this severe weather risk here, slight risk and a marginal risk up here across areas of the Northwest. Again, you don't see that very often. Got a little pocket down here toward portions of South Texas as well, where that heavy rain threat's going to be. Now let's go ahead and break this down by the category, because look at this. There's something, again, you don't see very often. Look at that. I've got 2% tornado risk up here across portions of Oregon and heading into areas of Washington State. So a little unusual to see that. I think the hail threat's probably going to be the bigger thing out there, obviously with that kind of cold upper level low kind of coming in with that low pressure system. So hail definitely running higher into that zone across areas of the Cascades. So that'll have to be watched here for heading into tonight and into tomorrow. And of course, the high wind threat running about 5% there, kind of covering that entire marginal area. Now, what about day two? Let's look at your day two outlook here. And again, it looks like we're going to be focusing on South Texas. So again, that's where the heavier rain's going to threat there. Also got a little pocket here across portions of Illinois, stretching back into Nebraska and Iowa a little bit there. And portions of Kansas seeing that as well. And as far as the category breakdown on that, again, tornado risk running about 2% there across areas of South Texas. Now, what about day three? Let's look at your day three outlook. Day three. Again, we'll see that kind of shift off toward the east a little bit through Arkansas, Texas, and a little pocket there across areas of Nebraska. So again, when I say pockets of severe, I wasn't kidding. That's how it's going to be here for the next 3 days. That's for sure. Now, as far as the 4 day, not looking bad. Of course, it's day 5. This is what got everybody on social media kind of lit up here. We're all going to see a pretty expansive area for severe weather. Now, right now, what I'm expecting is pockets of severe thunderstorms in this, gusty winds, and isolated tornadoes. I'm not expecting like 100 tornadoes to outbreak with this, but it is, possible we may see, 6 or 10 different tornadoes. I'm not looking at a major outbreak with this, the way it's looking right now. And of course, this moves off toward the east as we go into Monday. So this is your Monday location. And that right there is your Sunday. So there's Sunday. And there's Monday moving off toward the east. So as we get closer, we'll be able to kind of fine tune and break this down as far as its impact. Right now, I'm thinking a slight risk. There may be a pocket of enhanced in there somewhere, but I'm not expecting this to be like a moderate to higher risk event. That's not what I'm seeing right now on the current model guidance. All right, so that's what we're looking at right there. Now, as far as the heavy rain threat, that's something across South Texas that's going to have to get watched. They're looking at some pretty decent rains here over several days. So you see that pocket there of moderate risk for severe weather down here across, flooding potential, I should say, down there across South Texas, a little bit up here in the Pacific Northwest here on your day 1. Day 2, let's switch over to that. Again, kind of holding there along areas of the Gulf Coast with some heavy rains there. A little pocket here across portions of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and again up and down the West Coast, still looking at some heavy rains there. And the day 3, we'll track that a little bit further along the Gulf Coast here. Looks like around Texas and over toward Louisiana with a pocket of severe weather going into there. So kind of wrapping this thing all the way up here for you as we look at your hazards here for the next 3 to 7 day period. Obviously, you got that big severe weather we got to watch here, obviously, and some heavy rain threats along the Gulf Coast. A couple of windy pockets here across California and areas of Colorado, but that's the way the hazards are looking here as we go into the next 7 days. So when it comes to severe weather, I'm always looking for 3 different things. I'm looking for available wind energy. I'm looking at available heat, which is basically your cape, that's your fuel for thunderstorms. And I'm also looking for a trigger, your lifting mechanism for severe weather. So we're going to first focus in on what we're going to see here today, which is kind of interesting with this big, strong area of low pressure here off the West Coast as this thing kind of dives in here across portions of the Northwest. Now, typically, you're not going to have a lot of instability, obviously, across the Northwest, but you got some pretty good, strong dynamics as this big low pulls in across the areas of the Pacific Northwest. So this is what's going to be bringing in the severe weather there for today and tonight for that storm system moving in there. Then this kind of moves on inland here a little bit, and we'll see some of that energy kind of transfer into the plains as we head to the upcoming weekend. And what it looks like as we bring this forward here is that we're going to see this thing begin to really strengthen with the jet stream here across the south. So it really kind of kicks up going into Sunday and Monday. And although we're not getting a real big solid, dip in the jet stream like this, where we're getting a lot of wind shear, we're seeing a little bit of split in the flow. It's kind of diffluence. And when that happens, when you get to kind of split just a little bit, that can add a little bit of spin in the atmosphere, just like that. And that is going to be kind of my target zone there across Tennessee, I think, going into Monday for the potential for a few tornadoes. That's going to be kind of where I would put my enhanced area, looking at the models as they are right now. Now, of course, it's going to change a little bit as we get closer, but that's what I'm seeing right now as that wind energy kind of moves on through. So we're definitely going to have that. You got a strengthening jet stream. See it get a little bit stronger in there as we go in throughout the day on Monday. So we got a strengthening jet in here, and then we're also going to have that instability. So looking at the instability, this is your cape. Okay, that's your fuel. That's your gasoline for the fire. So as we look at this upcoming weekend, you definitely see the instability kicking in there throughout Sunday, going into Alabama and into Tennessee. So we're going to have some of that going into your Monday. So you see we got some wind energy, we got some surface cape. So we got 2 of the ingredients in there, and then we've also got a cold front that's plowing in there. So again, cape, got wind energy, and we got a trigger with a front. So those 3 things are all setting up pretty well right through there as this moves on through, and you see the front kind of pushes that cape obviously out to sea as that cool, dry air kind of comes on in. So that's for this upcoming weekend system. Now, the one thing that the European is showing is beyond this, there's a couple more opportunities for additional severe weather. So as I go ahead and take this forward here in time, bring this forward, oh, look at this. There's another big dip here in the jet stream. So we got another dip in the jet stream here. We got diffluence. We got wind shear in there with that. That's going toward the second. So that's 1. And then you continue this forward again. We got an upper low here. We got this system here diving down here from the west. That's going to rotate in. And that comes in a little bit later going into April beyond the weekend there. And boom, that one also coming out of the plains needs to be watched there going into toward the 6th and 7th. So again, we're looking at least 3 different severe weather events on the models on the European showing here over the next 10 to 12 days. So it looks like a very active start to April. And I'll take this all the way out, and you kind of see that upper low just kind of sit there and spin around a little bit. And with the instability there, again, here, this going out toward the 9th here, you're going to watch that area for severe weather as well. So multiple severe weather days are ahead the way things are trending right now. So as we look at our high-resolution model, the short term, obviously we're going to be watching South Texas for some heavy rains there, and we're watching the Pacific Northwest for the active weather out there with that big storm system off the coast. So going throughout the day on your Wednesday, things go downhill into areas of the Pacific Northwest going in toward tonight. Look at the thunderstorms that are flying up here across Washington State and Oregon toward 9 o'clock tonight. And you're seeing the heavy rains here across the areas of Texas as well going in toward tonight. So the day's not looking bad. It'll be tonight where the active weather will start to kick on in. That moves on inland there, and we continue the surge of moisture, continue with multiple rounds of rain here up and down from California into portions of Washington State. The rain threat continues there, seeing the rains here erupting across areas of Kentucky back over toward Missouri as we go throughout the day on your Thursday. And this moves on off, and it still looks wet and stormy there across Texas. That continues right in toward your Thursday night and going into Friday morning. It's still very wet and rainy here and stormy out there on the West Coast as well. So let's go ahead and look at the European model here. We'll take this on all the way through. We're going to watch for this upcoming event, for this upcoming weekend, the bigger event. And we'll see the active weather out there on the West Coast. So this goes in toward your, going in toward your Sunday. So it looks like by Sunday afternoon, we'll get a little bit of activity. It doesn't look all that bad there, but that'll be the zone we'll watch there on Sunday. Probably going more so into Sunday night. There he goes. So it looks like by about 11 o'clock, we're going to start to flare up some storms here across that frontal system as we get that plow in. We're getting those battle zones that are setting up. And that's what's setting up that severe weather. So this pushes on off to the south and east going into Monday. So we see it kind of swishing on down to the south and moves on out to sea. So that's that one severe weather event going late Sunday and into Monday. That's round number one. Let's take this further. Then we go into that second. We got that next storm system. We'll have to watch in here once again for another round of severe weather. This one's got a little more wintry precipitation on the back side of this. So old man winter's not through with this yet. And those could be some decent snow events for this next one going in toward the second. Again, that pushes off toward the east. We'll have to watch that again going into the third. So we have to watch through here again for some more severe weather going into the second and third. This pushes on off. Then we'll watch the next one coming in behind it once again. Here goes another round going in toward the 7th. So it looks like we're in store for an active severe weather start going into April. So what that means is y'all need to stay weather aware and watch for these updates daily because they're going to change daily. But it's looking pretty active. And once again, more snow, intermountain snow, and coming out to the plains once again going in toward the 7th. This pushes off toward the east a little bit with some severe weather maybe across the south going into 8th and 9th. And it kind of weakens and settles on out. So again, we're tracking 3 potential severe weather events here over multiple days going into the month of April. So let's go ahead and look at our rainfall totals. What's interesting here, short term, the 2 hot zones, obviously South Texas, that's where we got the flash flood watches up, and the West Coast. That's for the next 3 days. Let's go take it out to 10. Take it out to 240. And boy, it's definitely looking a lot rainier here in the east, that's for sure. West Coast still looking awfully wet. And even beyond that, now this has been trending upward here the last few model runs. Check this all the way out. Look how much heavy rain here is falling across the Midwest, South, even out here in the plains and the West Coast. So definitely starting to trend wetter on the European models as far as the long-range projections are concerned. And on top of that, we're not done with winter weather yet, folks. We still got to deal with that as well. Check out this here. As far as the snow totals are concerned. Now we'll go short term once again. We'll go 3 days. I kind of like to break it down that way. So for the next 3 days, not bad. Obviously, we've got a little snow there across areas of the Northeast. Some of the mountains will get some decent snows. That doesn't look that bad over the next 3 days, right? Well, check this out. Let's go out to 10 days. Go out to 240. We definitely start feeling in a lot more activity here across Idaho, heading into Wyoming, the higher mountains of California. Look at this snow path here across the northern plains with that next storm system. That's kind of on the 2nd and 3rd. And if I take this all the way out to the end, woo-wee, that's an explosion. We'll see. I highly doubt that we'll see this, but look at that the heavy snow there, over 1 foot plus there across Wyoming and coming into Nebraska and South Dakota. Again, this is long range, likely to change, but it just shows that we're not through with winter yet. And there'll be several opportunities for the higher latitudes to see some potential winter storms with especially these stronger systems come out of the Rockies and come out into the plains. Now, again, as I always mention, when it comes to severe weather, especially going into April, we're looking for the battle zones. All right, so we're looking at the 850 millibar, and we're looking at where the colder and the warmer air are going to clash. So as I take this forward, you're going to see the 3 distinct ones that are going to go here. So check this one out. Here's the first one. Obviously, this is going into Sunday and Monday. So you're watching this battleground here as this pushes off toward the east. So there's our first one going into Monday, and that moves on off. So there's our battleground number 1. going into Sunday and Monday. You clearly see the battleground with that colder air driving into that warmer, moist air out ahead of it. And it's definitely going to be plenty warm there. So that's the first one. Here's the second one. Going into Tuesday and Wednesday, here's our second battleground. See the warm air ahead of it? Got the warm air surging out ahead of it, cold air plowing into it. That's battleground number 2. And then we'll take this forward. That moves off toward the east. And then look, here comes battleground number 3. Here's number 3 coming. Cold air plowing into that warm moisture out ahead of it. Once again, this is going into the 6th and 7th of April. Very sharp dividing line with that one. Very sharp. Look at that one. That upper low, here coming up, very cold temperatures there across areas of Colorado. That's what will bring the snow in there. Once again, going in April. Not unusual to see that for this time of year, by the way. And you see that third battleground. So we got 3 separate battlegrounds for potential severe weather that's showing up on the model. So, and this has been trending upward. So the first 7 days we can lock in on. Beyond 7 days, we're looking for forecast trends. And that has been trending on the last few runs, showing a little more active weather pattern going into the month of April. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. Look at the climate outlook here, as we're definitely looking at above normal temperatures here on days 6 through 10. This looks like this is pretty good. Where we might see some changes is on this one, the 2nd through the 8th, because the last few model runs have been indicating these little cold shots kind of coming in here, beating back this down a little bit. So we'll see if this gets modified just a little bit here from the Climate Prediction Center later today. Still looking at kind of below normal there across the west. Precipitation-wise, staying pretty active here the 31st through the 4th. That looks true. A little drier here across Texas. Very wet out in California and areas there into the northeast. And this is changed a little bit slightly from yesterday. They have backed off the below normal here just a little bit. So sometimes they'll do this incrementally, but it looks like what I was seeing here on the European long range is a pretty wet pattern there continuing here for a big portion of the country, especially the eastern third and the southeast. So we'll see if this kind of holds true on the update here a little bit later for this afternoon. So again, a very busy period here expected across the country. Again, the biggest thing I can tell folks is just get yourself prepared. And again, every storm system is different. Not every storm system is the storm of the century, and not every storm system is going to be like that big outbreak we had just a couple weeks ago when we had over 100 tornadoes. They're all going to be unique and different. So be careful out on social media. Again, you're going to get those guys out there going to hype every storm to death because that's what they like to do. We don't do that here. I try to keep an even keel and to keep you updated. So I do advise you to go ahead and get one of these weather radios. We're probably going to do some severe weather coverage Sunday and Monday, potentially this upcoming week. And when we do, we will be giving away one of these free weather radios here that you guys can sign up for. I like for folks to stay weather aware, and that's a great tool to have, obviously, especially for those nighttime events. So you can just have the radio on, have it go off, and you're ready to go. All right, that is y'all's update for now. Again, I appreciate y'all following the channel. If you haven't yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button at this time. Hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you appreciate this report, please leave me a comment down below. I do appreciate you guys supporting our little channel. All right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.